Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Welcome to the Performance Matters podcast from GP Strategies, your talent transformation partner. In each episode, we'll interview industry experts and explore best practices and innovative insights to help your organization improve performance.
I want to just switch gears a little bit and, what about the individuals across the organization? So how do we support the leaders' efforts with something a little more recognizable, a little more day-to-day for those that are actually doing the work?
I am so glad you've asked this because my fourth element, exactly as you say, switches gears a little bit because it's about that truly impactful training event. And I will refrain from getting on my soapbox. I'm not going to go down that route,
Get
but
on
I
the soapbox, please do. Get on
you'll
it.
never get me back down from it, especially after calling me a genius earlier. We're done. So I won't go on the soapbox, but I will stress the importance of learning that breaks the mold and inspires a change. DEI is personal and it's provocative. It's not a checkbox, and the training shouldn't be either. So please put away the iceberg slides. I don't want to see, above the water, below the water. I don't want your clinical definitions on diversity.
Oh my
This
God, thank you.
training, oh my goodness, it should be about human value, right?
Oh,
This is a no-brainer. So,
preach, Nick. I love it. I love where you're going. So let's tell us where we should be going here. So,
of course, right, let me just pop the soapbox away. So,
okay.
this is talking specifically about DEI training, because what I'm going to say to you is consider looking beyond your usual delivery team. Now, please know that this is not a slight against your traditional trainers, but for this topic, they may lack the depth to speak with the credibility to certain groups, or they may not have the subject matter expertise to create that much needed safe space. So, if this
Okay.
is the case in your organization, consider assembling a different group of facilitators. These facilitators will have deep, researched, and maybe even lived experience to speak to people with insight and, importantly, authenticity. Because you need this learning to land in a way that the messages resonate and the effects just ripple out. So, when we start to think about training content, modern learning principles like the flipped classroom or blended learning can transform your DEI agenda by evolving your trainers from, oh, dare I say it, be these text to speech resources into that
Right.
sought out subject matter expert.
Okay, Nick. I'm pretty familiar with a couple of terms that I heard, uh, but I'd like you to unpack those. So I heard the term flipped classroom and blended learning. For those that aren't really familiar, that aren't really in the learning design phase, can you help us unpack those a little bit before we move too far forward?
Yes, of course, happily. So let's take flipped classroom first off, because flipped classroom is where you learn the generic basics of a topic before you even set foot into the training event. So it's that knowledge download element that really doesn't need a trainer to talk at you with. So, for example, it might be the introduction to your topic, it might be a timeline, the history, or the definitions. All of this information can be beautifully packaged into some digital learning in the form of a quick video or a reference guide that's shared prior to the training event. And that just means that when the employees spend time with your trainer, the training event becomes more like a clinic, because the trainer can share their expertise. They can spend time discussing individual concerns, and they can invite these employees to share their own realities. And that can bring generic content to life in a way that no slides or no word regurgitation ever can.
You know what? I totally get this now. So, from what I'm hearing from you, like a clinical definition of flipped classroom is you get the traditional knowledge transfer over. And I don't mean this in a dismissive way, but the lower level elements, the things that would normally be lecture, you're taking that and saying, let's package that up, make it on demand. People can consume that and think about it. And now it's almost like a book club where you've done that. Now with the, quite frankly, instructor led is more expensive. It's more precious. Let's shift that to the higher learning of discussion, analysis, skill development, application, on the whole nerd term of the learning pyramid, you're moving it higher up the food chain, right?
Exactly that. Yes, that's precisely it. I couldn't put it in any other
Well, I
way.
mean, I haven't built a Vespa, but I think we're kind of in, we're speaking the same language. Now, the second thing that we were talking about here, if we double back, is blended learning. So unpack blended learning since you did such a great job with Flipped Classroom.
So the blended learning element, this recognizes where we are in modern learning. It's not a case of all the information needs to come from instructor led. Blended ideals are about using instructor led and enhancing it with digital learning methodologies so that your messaging really lands. And you can blend your training experience, like I just suggested with the flipped classroom. So you could have digital resources before the event and then the instructor led. So you've got the blend there. Or you can use digital resources in the instructor led session. So again, the blend's happening there. Or my personal favorite is when you look at how digital learning can support and embed your instructor led session when you're back out there in the workplace. So this might be a digital embedding pathway or a digital point of need catalog that's accessible when the learner is reflecting and remembering all that good stuff that the instructor may have inspired.
The Performance Matters podcast is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts or listen on our website at gpstrategies.com.